The Lost Gospels. The texts left out of the Bible. Today, I want to begin by asking you a question. If I told you that there are books not included in the Bible, yet claim to record the words of Jesus, would you believe me? What if I told you that these books were hidden for centuries, some were banned, and some were deliberately excluded from the Bible? Today, these texts are known as the Lost Gospels. They represent one of the most controversial, most mysterious, and least discussed topics in the history of Christianity. So let me ask you this. Do you really know enough about this subject? If not, stay with me and continue watching this video. What will we discover in this video? In this video, we will learn the truth, not legends, but the hidden secrets of history, not conspiracy theories, panruki, but the sources used by historians, and by the end of this video I ask you to think carefully and answer these questions for yourself. Why did these texts disappear? Were they truly dangerous to the church, or were they simply different? What is a lost gospel? First, let's clarify something very important. When we say lost gospel, we are not talking about a Bible that completely vanished. There was not one Bible that existed and then suddenly disappeared. No. The lost Gospels are texts written during the early period of Christianity, but not included in the biblical canon. These writings are generally known as the apocryphal Gospels. The word apocryphal comes from Greek and means hidden, concealed, unofficial. These texts were written between 100 and 300 years after Jesus. In other words, they belong to the earliest centuries of Christianity. How were the Gospels chosen? Today, the Bible contains 4 Gospels: Matthew, the Caesar, Mark, Luke. John, however, these texts were not officially finalized until the 4th century. In the early Christian communities, different regions, different communities told different stories about Jesus. Over time, the church selected texts based on 3 main criteria. 1. Was the text closely connected to the apostles? 2. Was its teaching compatible with church doctrine? 3. Was it widely accepted among Christian communities? During this process, some texts were accepted and others were rejected. This is where the rejected texts, the lost Gospels, enter the story. The Gospel of Thomas, the most controversial text. The Gospel of Thomas is perhaps the most famous of all the lost Gospels. It was discovered in 1945 in Nag Hammadi, Egypt. This Gospel does not describe Jesus' life story, does not mention the crucifixion, consists only of 114 sayings attributed to Jesus. But the most striking part is this. In the Gospel of Thomas, salvation is connected not to faith, but to knowledge. The message is clear. The one who knows the truth will be saved. This idea conflicted with church teachings and was seen as something that could create doubt among believers. Because of this, the Gospel of Thomas was considered dangerous and was excluded from the Bible. The Gospel of Judas. Betrayal or divine mission. The Gospel of Judas was revealed to the public in 2006. This text shakes everything we think we know, because it portrays Judas, not as a traitor, but as Jesus' closest confidant. According to this Gospel, Jesus personally asks Judas to hand him over. This narrative directly challenges the very core of Christian theology. That is why the Gospel of Judas was rejected and excluded, hidden, and suppressed for centuries, shuristum. The Gospel of Mary. Female leadership. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene was a serious problem for the early church. Why? Because in this text, Mary Magdalene is described as Jesus' closest disciple. She teaches the male apostles. This conflicted with the male-dominated structure of the church. If accepted, it would have caused major disruption within early Christian authority. The result? The text was excluded. Its authority was erased. Why were these texts rejected? Let's be very clear. These texts were not rejected because they were fake, but because they were considered inappropriate. For the church, the most important things were unity, doctrinal consistency, authority. Different narratives could lead to division, and division was the last thing the church wanted. So official texts were chosen, others were excluded. What do the lost Gospels tell us today? The lost Gospels show us one important truth. Early Christianity was not single-voiced, not based on a single interpretation. These texts help us Understand the historical development of faith. See that questioning has always existed, but remember this: the Gospels accepted by the Church remain the foundation of Christian belief and cannot be ignored. Conclusion. Today we took a short but information-rich journey into the world of the lost Gospels. These texts exist, not to destroy faith, but to help us understand history more accurately. If this video gave you a new perspective or new knowledge, please don't forget to like the video. For more content like this, subscribe to the channel. And I truly want to know your opinion. Should these texts have been hidden, or should they be discussed more openly? Leave your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future content. May God protect you.